Hello, everybody. This is Mike Feldbauer from the Flagler County Drug Court Foundation coming to you today from the Flagler Voice podcast studio here in Palm Coast. And I'll be right back with our guest today, a very special guest for me and I believe for you all, in just one moment. Well, we're back. And if you can see right now, there is my guest on screen. It's Pastor Charles Silano.
Hi, Mike.
Pastor, thank you for coming. I know you have a busy schedule and sometimes hard to get away and just kind of do some different kind of stuff. And this is probably a little bit different for you.
Well, thank you for the invitation, first of all. And it's good to be with you. I really appreciate it.
Yeah. People have asked me since we started the Road to Recovery podcast, which is all about the world of recovery, particularly in Flagler County, and trying to let people that are in the world of recovery talk about what they've been going through, how they've been battling, and how they've been winning, and then having people that are involved in helping people in the world of recovery. And I'm forever being asked, how did I get involved? Well, ladies and gentlemen, I got involved because of this gentleman right here. And after a period of time, when we moved to Palm Coast about 18 years ago, and I can't remember the exact year I started working as a volunteer at the Grace Community Food Pantry.
Yeah.
And that's how I got involved with Pastor right here. Shortly after that, actually we changed and we went to Pastor's Church for quite a while.
Yes, you did.
Yeah, it was, and I'll tell people, if you want to learn what the Bible is really about, if you want to see what the scriptures are saying, this gentleman here paints a picture when he talks about the scripture that you get to understand. He talks about what was going on at the time. Why did they do this? Why did they do that? So you have a better understanding why people wrote what they wrote, because it was initially written for those people of the time. And we have to kind of bring it into our own time frame now. But it was incredible. I know one of the things that I tell people the most about, as far as your preaching, and then we'll get back into the world of recovery, is that you did something that most preachers won't do. You taught the book of Revelation.
Yeah.
And we were in that book for 54 weeks.
Yes, you were. That's right.
Oh, yeah.
That was a trip, wasn't it?
Oh, it was incredible. I mean, some Sundays it might have been just one or two sentences, and you spend the time explaining what those sentences really meant, what it was for, and you painted a little different picture than a lot of people and preachers and teachers of that particular scriptures are. First of all, most of them don't want to deal with it. Secondly, you taught me, and I believe, I know it's your thoughts, and you had a lot of good reasons for doing it, that the book of Revelation was written for the Jews.
I really believe that, yes.
You know,
Yes.
that were left. Not that we can't use it today.
Right.
It's all there. But you proved to me, because the way it was written, Gentiles wouldn't have understood what was going on. The words,
all the symbolism and all that, yeah.
So it was an incredible time, and it was 54 weeks.
Yeah.
And there weren't too many of us that didn't sit there every week because you had us.
Yeah, yeah. And it's relevant to everybody today because, Jews and Gentiles are one new man now. So,
right.
Yeah, what happens, we follow what Israel, the church follows what Israel, what's happening in Israel, that's what's happening in the church. It's an amazing thing, but that's a different discussion altogether.
Yeah.
But it is a great book.
Maybe sometime we'll bring you back and we'll have a further discussion on that, because I think that's something that people need to hear and see more about.
Yeah.
But today the discussion is on the world of recovery, particularly right now in Flagler County. And for those of you listening to, as far as I'm concerned, Pastor Charles has been one of the innovators in recovery in our county. One of the first people that got really heavily involved in it to try to do something. And it drew me in, and he drew me in, and became a part of my life now. It's it's a calling on it. So, Pastor, can you give us a little background, what you do, how you do, and let's get into what Open Door is.
Yes. Well, Open Door is a Christ-centered residential recovery program, we were the first to have that in the county. So a lot of people at that time, it was a new thing for this county, there was no place to really go. And as a matter of fact, opening a residential recovery center in a lot of different counties met with a lot of resistance, as we did, but we overcame that. And we're friends with everybody that we had to, go to court with and everything like that. So things are good, but it was a struggle. The thing that sticks out is that as I was, venturing into that arena, that a lot of people didn't see a need for it, or I heard people tell me, well, maybe it's just not the Lord's time, and I said to myself, I said to them, well, when is the Lord's time? People are dying, and this is a growing, it's a growing problem, and it's not going to stop, because I really believe, as we're seeing today in the political arena, that it's been a war. It's been a war. They call it a drug war for a reason, and they're after our kids. They're after everybody. And I went down to Delray Beach just to see, because that's a recovery community. I think 25% of their economy is recovery oriented. You learn a lot down there. First of all, you learn how not to do it, because it's just really a problem. But they put out a paper. They put out a newspaper. There's a lot of residents down there that when I went, they're just completely fed up with what's going on, the overdoses, and they put a picture in the centerfold, which is huge. You're talking about at least 250 photos, like you would have in your yearbook, school yearbook or something. And then they put their occupation. And you had prosecutors, you had public defenders, you had detectives, you had all manner of people. It doesn't matter, what line of work you're in. This was a problem. These people died because of overdoses. And so how could we not care? How could we not do something about it? And so I learned a lot during that. But I really had a burden to do it because of another background. I was an addict myself. I sold it, and I was a big marijuana dealer, huge in my day, and but I, used a lot of cocaine, and it was just part of the lifestyle. And at that time, I thought I was just supplying a demand, that kind of a thing. My reason for going into that field was because, having been born in Italy and coming over here, we never realized how poor we were in Italy, because everybody was on the same level. But when you come to America, it's a whole different ballgame. You're talking major trauma, culture shock. And I just never thought I was going to be able to blend in. Never really felt like a part of the community, except for my immediate and extended family. I just got sick and tired of being poor. And I was good in school. I had to, I did all that. I was diligent to do that kind of a thing. And I didn't do any drugs until I got out of high school. But everybody had money. I couldn't afford a car. People were driving cars when they graduated high school. I couldn't afford a car. And so you couldn't go out on dates, and things of that nature. But so I went to Essex County College for a year, and I went down there. I applied for financial aid and a grant. They said one of them should come through. Just do both, and they both came through. So I went down to report that I got the grant as well as the financial aid, and I went to return the grant money, which was $1,000. And going up the flights of stairs, everybody in the stairwell is using whatever, you name it, call it out. Everybody's doing that. So I was really surprised about that, and went upstairs, and he said, well, you can't return it. It's a grant, so you have to keep it and use it for books or something. I walked back down. the stairway the same way, and the idea hit me because I was, how am I going to make any money and go to school at the same time? I was trying to do the right thing, even returning the grant money. I'm trying to do the right thing. But I knew then that I could make my $1,000 grant into $2,000 pretty quickly. And that thought just stayed with me. So that's what I started to do on a small basis, and then work my way up through the ranks, working with several people. I've been very near the top. I did $20 million in business one year in the 80s, so I was really up there. And it didn't satisfy me. I remember sitting in my house. I had lands. I had antique cars. I had this one house that I lived in, and I had everything, all the toys, the Corvettes and the Mercedes Benz, but I was empty. I was sitting inside, and I would just like, what is this all about? And so I think my life started to fall apart at that point in time, and it was involved somewhat with organized crime, because I went to school with the kids whose fathers were organized crime, and so I was involved with them. I went through some harrowing experiences there, and finally got extracted out of that. We don't have time for all of that, but it was just a move of God, and and in that, I've been busted 5 times. I beat 3 of those cases. The last one, I've been in 7 county jails, and I've been in 3 federal prisons. And in that time, I saw that. I had some great fellowships there. Prison fellowship would come in. Eventually, I got moved to Talladega, and that's where they were. And that was really a great experience for me. But when you're in prison or in the county jail, the people that just left, they're coming back. And why did you come back? Why is it that you're back here? Their side of the story is that, I was trying, but I, just didn't know what else to do. Couldn't make it. Just couldn't make it. So they violated probation, got another sentence, and that's a very similar story for a lot of different people. They just keep coming back. And so I realized that there's really nothing to catch them when they come out. They don't really have any tools. They don't have any. There's no programs back then,
right,
to get you set up for life outside. So there has to be something. And so part of that, without going into all the intricacies of that thought and that process, is that Open Door. That's why I call it Open Door Reentry and Recovery, is to catch these people and give them an opportunity to we help them with job skills, create new job skills, get their GED. We do whatever we can for them health-wise, and give them structure, because at the end of the day, that's what they're lacking. They did whatever they wanted to on the street, to get a quick fix, or just get ahead quick. They broke laws, just routinely, because they didn't have anything where they could, do it step by step, incrementally, and gain yourself a better life. So when I came to the end of myself, I really came to the end of myself. I never looked back. I had people call me and say, "Hey, you're out. You still got connections and everything like that. Please don't call me again. I'm not coming back. Oh, come on. You don't have to be there. We'll just give you $50,000. Don't even worry about it. Then you can really worship God, without stressing. I said no. So. Anyway, so I knew that there were people like that, like myself. I gained a lot of, I had true relationships. This is crazy, right? I had true relationships in prison. I didn't have true relationships on the street, because everybody's after you. Everybody's, you got to be incognito. You got to lay low. And who do you trust? So it was one of those worlds. I was just sick and tired of looking over my back and waiting for the statute of limitations to end on some of the things that I did. So this was great, and I wanted to provide that for other people in similar circumstances, because when they come out, they have a decision to make. And the Bible talks about it in Romans 6:17 and 18, whereas you once, provided your members to unrighteousness and lawlessness leading to more lawlessness.
Yep.
See, that's what it is. And drug addicts, they'll start out with marijuana, and then they need something higher than that, and they need something that gets them higher than that, and leads to more lawlessness, which leads to just like uncleanness, and you're done. Just as you did that, offer your members to righteousness, and thereby you have your holiness, your wholeness, and that's it. They're at a fork in the road, and they have to make a decision. So when you drop somebody off with $50 on a bus in the same neighborhood where you picked them up,
Right.
for him to stand there and try to do something, he doesn't have the skill set, and so he's trying to be strong, but his money's running out, and ultimately he's going to go back to survive, to do what he used to do. So there has to be some kind of provision to teach them, hey, listen, just like you used to do what you used to do it in another realm now, in another arena, and you'll see that things will get better. And if you give me 3 years, you'll be on Front Street. You'll be able to afford your car, afford to feed your family, or pay your rent. You'll do that, but it's 3 years. It's not a quick fix.
Definitely not a quick fix. And we try to tell people too that, it's no more difficult to work yourself if you've made the decision that you want it in the world and getting into the recovery, into the programs like you offer, than it was on the street. The street was far more difficult.
Oh, man.
And to get them to understand that street was far more difficult
Yeah.
than working in the world of recovery, getting back to where they need to be, or maybe where they don't even remember where they were, because we hear a lot about that. It says, oh, my God, I've been involved with drugs and addiction for 25 or 30 years. We have some of them going up, and then all of a sudden, they made that decision. They found whatever the right place, right for them to get that help. They got the help. They worked on it. And they say, how did I miss this?
Yeah.
How did I miss it?
Yeah. Yeah.
So it's incredible. And then I always bring to the table, and the people need to understand that we, the public, have a big part of their success or failure. It's called stigmatism.
Mm-hmm.
And you and I both know, and I think there's some scriptures that even refer to it, that when you keep telling somebody you're not going to make it, you're nothing going to be a bum,
Right.
you never make it, and that's all they ever hear, that's what it becomes.
Sure.
And we have to get to the point where we're telling them, you can make it, you can make it, you can make it.
Absolutely. Yeah. They're signing back you. There's hope.
That's it.
And you kind of break that down for them. And you're right. Whenever we work with people that are finally doing the fourth step, because a lot of people say they're in recovery, but they go 1, 2, 3 step quick, and then they quit, and they never get to the fourth step. But the fourth step is important because, when you write your resentments down, you're carrying these resentments. And the number one resentment that is common amongst all of them is that they resent the fact that everybody told them, you're just not trying hard enough. And they, so they feel misunderstood. They don't understand the struggle within, that you really want to do well, but you can't because you're hooked. So, so you have to get, these are people.
you try to tell them, I can talk to people and they're puffing away on their cigarette and they're talking negatively about them drug addicts, and say, have you tried to quit that? Yeah, no, I can't do it. Okay.
Well, they don't consider that an addiction.
No, and my relationship and how I relate to the folks that are in that world of addiction is that I was a 2-pack-a-day guy.
Yeah.
Okay, I quit 6 times and I relapsed 6 times before I finally got to the 7th, and finally in my head that I got a reason that I need to do this and did it. And thank God that was nearly 42 years ago. I haven't had one since. But that's it. The only advantage I had is I wasn't going to get arrested for smoking.
Right.
That's the only difference between the nicotine addiction and the typical drug or alcohol addiction.
Mm-hmm.
So it's, we didn't have to go out, with today's prices, you might go out and steal to pay for the habit. I started when you put the coin in the cigarette machine to get the coin out. They didn't have ways of making change back then, so the cigarette manufacturers would put the pennies or the nickel in the wrapper, and you get the change from the cigarette machine back then. So it goes back a ways, but it's no difference.
No.
Addiction's addiction, whether it's drugs, alcohol, nicotine, gambling, sex. It's something that people need hope. They
Yeah.
need to be encouraged.
Yeah.
And there need to be more organizations that are out there helping people.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And Pastor, I've always said that, and I talk to people about it. Again, how did you get involved? Well, if we moved from the food pantry to Open Door Reentry and Recovery. It helped you there for quite a while,
Yeah.
mostly in the administrative areas and stuff that a lot of stuff that we went through. You're the one that got me involved with the drug court, and to get into that and get involved with that. And I say, we need more.
Yeah.
Our community is so lacking, in the last 5 years, and hopefully it's getting better. Flagler County was between the second and 10th highest overdose county in the state of Florida based on population.
Yeah.
And one of those years, we were the highest overdose death county. And the county, the cities, they have to wake up.
Yeah.
It's not just Daytona. It's
Right.
not Jacksonville.
Right.
It's right here.
Yeah. Yeah.
And we need to deal with it. And it's a combination of both private and public getting together
Yeah.
to solve the problem.
Mm-hmm.
And there has been not much on the public side at this point in time
Mm-hmm.
that does that. And we need to get more of that involved. And hopefully some of our new members of both city and county governments will help us get there. And then not being as resistant as they were to sober living or recovery houses. There's starting to be more and more of that here. But we need so much more.
Oh yeah.
And people have to understand that when a recovery house goes into your neighborhood, it's not going to destroy your neighborhood.
No, actually, if it's the real deal, it'll improve it. They take care of the property because you're teaching them structure.
Right.
A lot of times they help, their neighbors and things of that nature, and that helps to, that opens people's eyes up. I didn't think that you would be like that. I get those comments all the time on the guys that work at Big John's Appliances.
Right.
Your people were so nice. They were so thorough. They were so well mannered. So that helps a bit to spread the word out as far as what recovery can do. And I'm for recovery and more agencies, provided that it's not a puppy mill.
Yes.
If you're serious about it, be serious about it, because this is not something, it's a burgeoning industry. But boy, it is subject to, corruption, because there's a lot of money involved in it. Some of these places charge a lot. I really, that is my angst, that if you're, this is not something I don't feel like I'm competing with anybody. We don't compete, we network. And because you have to create this net to catch everybody that's falling through, because they may not make it the first time, the second time, or even the third time. And at what point do you give up? Maybe you can say, look, you're not ready. The door's open for you when you get ready. Okay, that's because you've got other people to take care of that are serious, that kind of a thing. But you don't want to ever become hopeless on anyone. You don't want to say, oh, that person is never going to make it. That's the stigma right there. So that has to stop, and you got to be serious as far as I came to a place where they really care about how I live. That and a lot of places are shutting down because there isn't that atmosphere there. There isn't that vibe.
Yeah, I see that a lot. I said, part of the informal or formal, whatever you want to call it, if you want to become part of the Flagler County Drug Court Foundation, you have to have a heart for it.
Yeah.
We're not money oriented.
Yeah.
Okay, we're all volunteers.
Yeah.
We'd love to have some extra money and maybe pay a couple of people to do things that some of the volunteers can't do, and maybe we'll get to that point. But you got to have a heart for it. I've seen the same thing you've seen. Yeah. I've seen organizations that have become money making.
Yeah, it's a slot machine.
And some of them are nonprofits too. They're on the border of. Yeah. We have some right here in our own county.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
But that's the key to reduce the stigmatism, is to instruct people so the community gets to understand that heart.
Yeah.
You and I both know that rarely do you come across somebody that hasn't had something in their past, their family, or their friends that have gone through this. Mm-hmm. So denial is, but it might have been during that period of time they had no understanding what caused it. Right. What was it?
Right.
I heard a pastor talk on the subject once, and he tried to tell his parishioners there that, remember, if you've got a family member that's involved with addiction, you're probably going to be the first place they start stealing from.
Right.
But remember, that isn't who they are.
Right.
And if you can get through that part, that that's not who they are, you'll help them.
You know,
And you can't be somebody that's helping them do the bad stuff, even
Right.
with a good heart.
the most rewarding thing at the end of the day is to see these people who burned every bridge and broken every relationships be united again with their families.
Amen.
That is incredible.
Yeah.
And then they're raising children up now. You know, that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
That's what I call overall success.
Yeah, and we get to see that in the drug court program also,
Mm-hmm.
and it's incredible to see the work that they go through to get to that point again,
Mhm.
because it's work.
Yeah, I want to say that drug court, they provide structure, and the people that sit around that table, because I've sat there for years,
Yep.
they care. You know, they care, and some might have differing views as to approach or anything like that, but they still sit at that table and come to the conclusion of how to treat a person. So, you know, kudos to the drug court, because if we didn't have that in the very beginning, we wouldn't have had anything in the beginning.
I agree with you, and you know, I sat in that with you when in the early days. I didn't sit at the front table. I sat off on the side there to learn, to listen to what was going on, and it is incredible. And yes, the people that most of we hear the stories that when whether it's the attorneys or whatever, they got appointed to be on the team by
Yeah.
their bosses, but most of them, after a while, you couldn't get them to leave.
Right.
They understood. And it is a change of, even for the judges, you know, drug court judges are felony judges, and it's different. They go from the felony court where
Yeah.
you did the crime, you do the time,
Yeah.
to the drug court where I have to get to know you. I have to we're here to try to help you.
Yeah.
This is a diversion. We don't want you going to prison if there's any way possible. And to teach all the stuff that has to be taught. That's what drug court is all about.
Yeah.
And what the Drug Court Foundation does is we try to relieve some of the burdens that the people going through the program are, that the court can't do for them, like
Right.
you do. We help them get their GEDs.
Mm-hmm.
We help them with auto repairs, all kinds of educational stuff, job training,
Right.
life skills, because most of them have none.
Yeah.
To get, though, when they do complete the program, again, like you said, there's a place for them to go that was better than what it was when they came in.
Yeah.
So
I remember, you know, we were together. We were together and witnessed quite a few graduations at drug court. I remember the first one where you sat in the front row. Mary Ann was next to you, and I briefly spoke. Everybody had their chance to speak and everything like that, and then we had a participant give their testimony, and you were crying like a baby.
it probably wasn't the first time, but it certainly hasn't been the last.
Yeah, well, that's what, you know. That's passion. That basically, you know, it doesn't matter who the person is. You want to see them excel. You know, you want to see them come out of that, and you know, that's it.
Yeah. And I think of the advantage and disadvantage that you and I have in what we do and others that do what we do is that we develop that close relationship with the people that are in recovery.
Yeah.
And it goes to the point where they become family.
Mm-hmm.
So I tell people it's also like being bipolar,
Yeah.
because we see the ups and the ups and the downs.
Yeah.
So we've got it is incredible, and I still have, depending on who does the speaking, the guest speaker, the participant at the graduations, you'll see still some tears coming from me.
Yeah, I bet. Yeah. Well, at the end of the day, if we have a couple more minutes left.
Yeah, we got about 2 minutes to be fine.
So the thing is that, you know, the opposite of addiction is not sobriety. That's a fruit of what's opposite of addiction, and that is community, because they've been living in the woods, hiding. You know, I'll just use that in the woods as analogy of their life, because you're hiding, you're not being open, and you're not trusting anybody because nobody trusts you. So you stay to yourself, and then the secrecy of your life just empowers the addiction. And so what the community is important. The overall community is. That's how we set people free, by acceptance. My trigger, I didn't want to be poor. I didn't feel like I was part of the community. So I'm going to create my own community, right? And how do you do that? I did that. In order to do that quickly, you need a lot of money, right? And then you're hanging around with people that you want to be accepted by. That was the wrong community. But we need to let everybody see that this is a life worth saving.
Amen.
Yeah.
God bless you. Pastor, I really appreciate you coming on, spending the time. I think we'll have to do it sometime in the future again, have some more conversation. Again, because we want to keep the community aware of what's going on.
Yeah.
The positive things that are happening, not just the negative. I point out the negative to wake some people up.
Sure.
But there's still some good positive things happening, and I greatly appreciate you taking the time. And I personally, and I might try now too, appreciate you and how you've helped me do to what I do.
Oh, thank you so
God
much,
bless
Mike.
you,
It was
Pastor.
great to be here.
Thank you very much. God bless.
God bless.